Dude, what the heck is happening with the car industry?
It is going to hell in a handbasket. Everything that pretty much made sense the last 30 years kind of got thrown out the window. Back during the pandemic, people were really worried about the economy, so they figured the best way to stimulate that is to release lending requirements for automotive vehicles, and that's pretty much what started the whole downfall of our automotive, industry. Banks were lending way too much money on cars that weren't worth it. And then once the pandemic shut everything down, there wasn't any new cars to come out. So all of a sudden, first time ever in history, every single car appreciated. Corollas, Camrys, trucks. So everything started selling for more than what they could get brand new. And we figured maybe 2 years it would be washed out. Here we are, year 3, and prices are still going up and down pretty erratic.
Welcome to the DV podcast, where we talk to inspiring people from all walks of life. On today's episode, we have Lucky Lopez, my good friend. He's a automotive YouTuber with over 300,000 subscribers. He's got about 1 million followers across social media and is an absolute rock star. He actually predicted the automotive apocalypse with car prices dropping to historic lows. And so today we're going to talk to him about that. Also his content creation workflow, how he creates videos, what that looks like, how he's been able to grow online, and how you can too. So let's go ahead and dive into today's episode. Dude, what the heck is happening with the car industry?
It is going to hell in a handbasket. Everything that pretty much made sense the last 30 years kind of got thrown out the window. Back during the pandemic, people were really worried about the economy, so they figured the best way to stimulate that is to release lending requirements for automotive vehicles, and that's pretty much what started the whole downfall of our automotive, industry. Banks were lending way too much money on cars that weren't worth it, and then once the pandemic shut everything down, there wasn't any new cars to come out, so all of a sudden, first time ever in history, every single car appreciated. Corollas, Camrys, trucks. So everything started selling for more than what they could get brand new. And we figured maybe 2 years it would be washed out. Here we are, year 3, and prices are still going up and down pretty erratic.
Yeah, I had my cars. I looked at them a year ago. I was like, oh, dude, I could sell my Tesla Model 3 for 15 grand more than I got it for 55 grand. And then, dude, today it's wait, this car's worth 30 grand. Some cars are depreciating, losing 40% of their value.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of funny. I remember telling one of my friends that, especially on Teslas, they did their third price drop just this year. So just imagine if you paid $110,000 for a Tesla Plaid, and now you can buy a brand new one for $15,000 cheaper. So when you trade yours in, you're automatically upside down. Not by your fault. You paid brand new MSRP pricing, but pretty much they got screwed over. So all the used car dealers that bought these cars thinking that they can sell them secondhand are now upside down, and it costs more than a new car.
So if someone's trying to get a car right now, what's your advice?
Don't.
What would you do? Walk?
No, I would tell, and I know people, this is not a sexy answer. Don't be stupid. Buy a cheap car, buy a bucket, drive around for a little while. I had that smart car. We got videos on it. Probably hopefully show it on here. I paid $1,100 for it. Drive it for fun. I sold my R8. I was waiting for a good deal to pop up. People are they won't wait. I would say the end of the third quarter of 2022, by the time all the numbers come out, because now the news is starting to talk about what's going on. The auto loans going bad, repos and defaults going up really high. So little by little, the public's being informed, and so now they're not going out buying in the same frenzy. Dealers are still being like, oh, we have limited supply, you got to buy now, but it's all bullshit. You go to most dealership lots, you'll see 20 F-150s in front. You go to the back, there's probably another 20, 30 just waiting there. So the whole supply and demand thing is bullshit. The only two manufacturers I know that you can't get brand new cars is Toyota and Honda, because they refuse to make more because they're grossing so much money. Why would you sell a Camry at $35,000 MSRP when you could sell it for $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over MSRP, make less cars but make more money? So
what happened to all the PPP guys who were buying Lambos and going out?
Oh God, the PPP loans and the crypto guys pretty much killed the car market, especially the high end one. I remember when buying an exotic car was kind of a big deal, nobody could do it. And think about it now, just in our group, everybody has an exotic car. You go down the street, there's people that literally work at the mall that are driving Porsches, Lambos, McLarens. It blows my mind. A lot of those guys now are the highest defaults. So a few of the major banks that I work with that do high-end lending, all of them are chasing these people now because they can't afford their cars. So after the stimulus money ran out, their PPP money ran out, and now they have to start paying rent and getting back to normal. They can't afford their cars. So instead of giving it back to the bank or maybe selling them because they don't want to lose their social clout, they're starting to turn to renting them like on Turo and other third-party platforms, and some people are just renting them out to just people on the street just so they can make enough money to pay their car payments so they don't have to basically tell their friends they lost their exotic car. And that's why the exotic car market is dropping faster than anything else. I remember you couldn't touch a used Lamborghini Huracan for under $285,000, $290,000 now. I've seen older Huracans going for like $205,000, $195,000. The market is just sliding really quickly. Just my rate, same thing. I had an offer $30,000 higher 3 months ago, and I didn't take it. And then when I went to sell it, I got $30,000 less. So that's why I sold my car, because I watched the market just slowly die when it comes to exotic cars too.
Are we going to come back to something that's more normal?
No, the problem is every time we think something rational is going to happen, like, okay, people are going to see the error of their ways, spending way too much money, the market's going down, but they still have people that are losing their jobs, losing their income, but still going into debt to buy something they can't afford. So I think right now we're going to see a slow, steady correction, not a crash. Everybody thinks it's going to be like '08, like, oh, you're going to buy cars 50% of value. No. This is the new normal. It's just going to go down maybe another 20, 30%. It's not going to be like you're buying 50 cents on the dollar or 20 cents on the dollar. That shit's not happening. It's going to be a slow, steady correction. And the regular cars are going to be the slowest. So unfortunately, General America, you guys are screwed. You're not going to be able to get a decent car for a decent price for another year. But if you're looking for an exotic car, you're going to get it in the next probably 90 days.
So what's interesting is in economic downturns and cycles, there's like the 90% of people who are kind of just like, oh yeah, we're in good times, whatever. Then there's like a handful of people who are like being more conservative. And then there's like 1% of people who are the ones predicting that something bad is going to happen. What's interesting is this car, you call it the automotive apocalypse, right?
Yeah.
Is what you call it on your channel. And you've been saying this like since before it happened. What were the signs that you were looking at that you're like, oh, something bad's about to happen?
It came back in 2020. So when I sold my dealership to a bank, and I stayed on for the next 90 days to help train their people and everything else. Pandemic hit, so I ended up not leaving. I ended up staying and then working on my YouTube channel. And one of my jobs is I was going around buying paper, which is auto loans. So my job was to go to different banks, different dealerships, and say, hey, we're buying auto loans. What do you guys got? So I would look at all the loans that these dealers were issuing for cars. And I saw one, basically, I guess, how do I say it nicely? One very negative item was they weren't doing proof of income. We have another thing that we stick by all the time, which is called LTV, loan to value. We always do, like if you're subprime, it's like 90% LTV. If you're prime, 110, 120 at the most, sometimes 130 if you're rock star. They were giving subprime people 150, 160, and prime people I've seen all the way up to 180, 190% of LTV, which means that if the car was like a $10,000 Toyota Corolla, they would give you up to $19,000 on that car for a loan. And they wouldn't even check at your income. They wouldn't verify it. So all of a sudden I started seeing all these loans rolling out because the way they justified it in the car business was, well, they're giving us $3,000, $4,000 down. They have big money down. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not good. And then what happened was it went from subprime to prime. We had people paying $100K over MSRP for G-Wagons, all the crypto bros. I got $50,000. Let me put $50,000 down on a $100,000 over MSRP G-Wagon and I'll be all right. And now these people are stuck with cars that they're literally 80, 90K upside down in. And as we started to see this, I started telling people this can't last forever. Something's got to give. And it was so funny. It reminds me of '08. It's not bad. It's only going up. Don't be negative. This is just the new trend, right? And then fast forward to 2022, people are like, oh shit, it's getting bad. Like banks are defaulting at record amounts of numbers. People are walking away from their cars like they walked away from their houses. And the reason why I kept screaming from the hilltops like this is a bad deal is I don't want it to turn into what the housing did. Because now when you buy a house, you have to qualify for it. So, back in the day, the ninja loans were, you just throw in some docs and you get qualified for a house. Now the government will tell you how much of a house you can afford, which I think is the worst way to do it. So the best way I can relate this is you could rent a house for $3,000, but you can't afford a $2,500 mortgage. So even though you can show the government, hey man, I've been paying $3,000 a month for the last 2 years. I want to buy this house and save me $500. Oh, sorry, you don't qualify for that mortgage. You can go ahead and continue paying $3,000 a month for rent. I guarantee you, if the government steps into the automotive industry, we are all screwed. Everybody that wants to drive a Mustang, Camaro, Corvette, they're all going to be luxury cars considered. You won't qualify for one. 90% of Americans have way too much credit card debt. Their DTI is going to be all out of whack. They'll basically make it where you can't afford a new car unless you're putting $20,000, $30,000 down. And I keep telling people you do not want the government to step in. And right now, if the banks need to be bailed out, the government's going to want to put some sort of regulatory in to make sure this doesn't happen again. And this is what I'm praying it's not happen. But it's getting very close because now it's getting so bad. Banks are actually afraid to repo cars because they can't get rid of them at the auction because of the massive deficiency they're going to get. So if, let's say, I repo your Tesla, you paid $120,000 for it, and I take it to the auction, somebody offers me $85,000. I have to eat that $30,000 or $40,000 of negative equity. So as a small bank, I can't afford that. So they just keep running it. So now what banks are doing is, okay, we're not going to repo your car. We're going to give you a grace period of another 90 days. So we're going to take your, whatever, let's say you're 60 days late. We're going to put that on the back end of your loan, and we're just going to let you catch up from this date. They'd rather give that the opportunity than repoing the car and losing $30,000.
So one thing you said though is like if banks come in, if it's one of the issues was that dealerships weren't looking at income, right? And
the banks, not the dealers, the banks.
Okay, so the banks aren't looking at it. And so with that being said, though, you're saying that one of the things that the government's done is they actually, there's restriction on buying houses. So wouldn't that be better and prevent something like this from happening?
Yes and no, because anytime the government steps in, they're going to have all these, rules that don't really make sense. Like I said, you as a person, if you don't qualify for a $2,500 mortgage, you're stuck to pay, let's say, a $3,000 rent. So
banks do. The government does regulate mortgages, but they don't regulate car loans.
Correct. Yeah. So right now, if you make $2,000 a month and your credit's good and you have a good enough down payment, and a bank's willing to take the risk, they'll give you a brand new 7 Series at $1,500 a month, even though it's going to take up 90% of your income. There are some banks out there that will do stupid lending like that, where.
So legally speaking, when it comes to a house mortgage, you can't go over that 40% debt to income.
Yeah, whatever that is, that's pretty much it. Now you can get special like hard money guys and stuff that'll do weird stuff, but if you go for like an FHA loan or something traditional, you have to abide by certain rules. You have to fit in a certain parameter. And so if they were to do that in the automotive industry, I mean, this is funny, and I don't think people realize is like something like a normal Tahoe, right? Family SUV. How much do you think a brand new Tahoe costs?
Dude, probably like $65,000.
$85,000. So a freaking Tahoe is $85,000.
I probably would have guessed higher, but I didn't want to ruin your point.
Yeah, $85,000.
It's a family car.
If you want to get an Escalade, it's $110,000, $120,000. So now you got a $1,700 to $2,800 car payment for a normal car. We're not talking exotic or anything crazy. So how are Americans supposed to afford this? During the pandemic, I saw banks putting out 96-month loans, 84-month loans. They were just extending it out almost like they were talking about doing a 40-year mortgage so they can make it affordable for people to get into debt instead of working the other way around, like making the cars cheaper, making people buy what they can actually afford. So if the government steps in, auto manufacturers are screwed because all the new cars they're making, people can't afford that. Nobody wants to pay $80,000 for a truck. Mm-hmm. That's insane, And even like economy cars, some of these Teslas, like we talked earlier, Tesla dropped their price 3 times. EVs are going to do the exact same thing. EVs right now are going to be the hardest to hit because I know that their sales numbers are down just this year alone, 38%. People thought EVs would take off. Complete opposite. That's why Tesla's dropping their price down, is because all these companies like Ford, Chevy, Honda, Toyota, Hyundai, they're all jumping in the EV market, and it's hurting Tesla, and then people just don't want to buy them.
Are you noticing that? Is it because there's more competition for EVs, or is it that demand is down?
Both.
Because it seems like demand for EVs it's becoming more normal for someone to have an electric vehicle.
There are more charging stations. There's more infrastructure to support it. But at the same point, the savings is just not there. When you can buy a affordable economy gas car for $8,000, $10,000, $15,000 less, more average Americans, especially if you're cash strapped, like if you can only afford a $500 payment and getting one of these EVs is $550, but you can get an economy car for $500, you're kind of going that way. That's why I thought the Tesla thing, they're eating at their own market share. You can only sell $60,000, Teslas for so long before people just start walking away. And like, I remember when the Plaid was 100 and something and they were talking about raising it to like 130, the Porsche Taycan came out, Audi has their e-tron, a few of these other manufacturers are making luxury, electric cars. The build quality is completely, all you gotta do is sit in a Taycan, sit in a Model Plaid. You can just see the difference, feel it. And then now they're like, okay, we need to lower our prices. We need to become more competitive because everybody's jumping into that market. And, I think people were going to go more to the EVs because of the whole green thing. But most of the people I talk to, they're just not into it. Like Teslas are cool. Like, we have these conversations off camera and I make fun of Tesla drivers, which I love. They're ahead of their time, but now they don't do anything innovative. The cars look the same. I don't know if you saw the new Model 3. It was a big deal. Like we're going to redesign it because everybody's making fun. Like all Teslas look the same. I swear to God, if you put the Model 3, it's like a little change of headlights and a little bit of body curvature. You can't really tell.
And that's what they've been. Dude, that's what they've been doing. Like I have the Model X Plaid, and it looks the same as the Model X. Pretty for the most part, that was created probably almost 7 years ago or 8 years ago.
Yeah.
And so they're not evolving in the same way, but also like the cars are still great. Like, I sit in one of them. Like surprisingly, it's still a talking point. Like people get in and they're like, some people have never been in a Tesla before. It's still cool. Dude, but what's crazy to me, on some of the car loan stuff is, during COVID, I went into a Range Rover dealership, Land Rover, and I walked in, I bought a Range Rover. They didn't when we're going through the process to get the financing, they didn't even ask about my income, or they asked. They either asked and didn't ask for proof, or they didn't ask at all. And I was sitting there, I was like, what the heck is happening here? All they did is run my credit, but dude, someone who makes $2,000 a month can have good credit. That doesn't mean anything. And so they come out, the car's approved and paid for, and they gave me an option. They list out the options with $0 down. I'm like, you're going to let someone buy this car with no money down without asking for my income? And so at that point, I was shocked. I was like, this must be normal. But it's just, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's the complete opposite. Like back in the day, if you wanted $100,000 loan, it was hard to get. Like I have videos on my channel explaining if you wanted to buy an exotic car, luxury car, something like that, these are the steps you have to do. Traditionally, to get like that Range Rover, you need to have like a $50,000, $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 auto loan, and then they'll let you get $100,000, $120,000, or I think some of them go up to like $150,000 in some of the Range Rovers. But if you didn't have that, you couldn't qualify. Even if you had 800 credit score and you paid off a Toyota Corolla for $28,000, if you try to go to Range Rover and say, I want this $100,000 Range Rover, they're going to just say, no, you can't. But during the pandemic, they just threw all that out the window. And that's what killed like a lot of the luxury market and the exotic car market. People that traditionally couldn't get those cars were able to get them. Like I remember I have like 15 paid auto loans on my credit, and I was trying to buy a Lamborghini Huracan, and I think it was like $220,000. This was like maybe 4 years ago, and I was putting $50,000 down, and the bank told me no. They're like, no, you don't qualify. You don't qualify. When I bought my Audi R8, 180 something with tax, like $200K, right? I went down there. They're like, we can do 0 down at 84 months, or do you want to do something else? If you do 72, we can give you 1.9%. I was like, give me 60 months, 1.9%, and I'm going to put like $60,000 down. And they're like, oh, you don't have to put the money down. I'm like, no, I want to put it down because if the market falls, I don't want to be buried in this thing. I want to be able to sell it and walk away. And because I saw how the market was going up and down pretty crazily, and it blew my mind. People, my personal friends, I won't say their names because I don't want to burn them, but people I know that do not qualify for these cars were driving Lambos. I saw so many people that were ballers on a budget riding in Cullinans, a $400,000 or $500,000 SUV. Lamborghini Uruses were everywhere. Like everybody, like if you come to Vegas, they're literally like Mazda Miatas now. Like you see them everywhere. And I don't know what happened. You know, it blew my mind, and the lending got so crazy. And so now we're sitting back, and this reminds me of '08. Everybody had credit. Everybody had houses. Everybody had things they really couldn't afford. And, you know, now we're seeing like the watch market fall. People are starting to get rid of their watches. All the crypto bros are getting rid of their G-Wagons because they can't afford them. Exotic cars are going. I'm just waiting for the next shoe to drop when it hits middle America, when regular people start walking away from their cars. Because one thing that I love to tell people, do you know what a Hyundai Palisade is or a Kia Telluride?
Yeah.
Okay.
Telluride's nice now. Like, Kia's new cars are like, they're clean.
Yeah, so I think they
poached BMW's designer, right?
Yeah. So the beautiful cars. I remember my sister-in-law wanted one, so I went to the dealership with them, and this was during the pandemic. A dealership here in Vegas had them anywhere from $30,000 to $60,000 over MSRP. Wow. So just imagine this, and I did a video about this just the other day. There are people driving around in a Kia that they paid $60,000 over MSRP. So the SUV is $60,000, but they paid that. Same thing with the Ford Broncos. I remember when they first came out, every Ford dealership here wanted $30,000 over MSRP, and they were selling them because I wanted one and I couldn't get one. So now, fast forward, you know, let's say you bought it in 2020. You come now, you're like, okay, I've driven it for 3 years or 2 years. I'm ready to get rid of it. I want to get something new. I got 30,000 miles on it. You go to the Kia dealership. Hey, here's my 2-year-old Telluride with, 30,000 miles. I want to buy the brand new one. I see the brand new one. You have 2 of them in stock and they're only $65,000. But this customer owes $80,000 on their Kia Telluride, and they get a $40,000 off for trade-in. That's what you're going to see more and more. I call it the negative. The next trend is negative equity, the negative equity bubble. All these Americans are so buried in their cars. Car dealers and banks basically rob their future for the next 2 to 3 years. They won't be able to sell more cars.
Dude, it seems like there's the slimy car salesman, but now it's like the slimy car industry. Is the whole industry and everyone into the scammer?
I don't want to stick up for anybody, but like, to be honest with you, it starts with the banks. Because at the end of the day, just like houses, you can want $1 million for your house, but if the bank says it's worth $700K, that's all you're getting a loan for. Same thing with the dealership. If the banks are willing to finance $80,000 on a $60,000 car, who am I to say, okay, no, don't do that? Dealers are going to want to make money, just like any business owner. I don't care if you sell tacos, clothing, or fluorescent light bulbs. If you can double your profits and there's somebody willing out there to take it, you're going to do it. So I don't blame the dealers a whole lot. They did do a lot of shady stuff. Like, I don't like charging way over MSRP and saying it's supply and demand. That's bullshit. But, if
people were buying, though, that's the thing. It's like, if people are buying at that price point, there is this thing. It's like, it's kind of the consumer's responsibility.
That's what I tell everybody. Nobody holds a gun to your head and tells you to sign the papers. You did. And so every time I hear, like on my channel, people crying, oh, I paid $30,000 over MSRP for my Corvette, and I'm trying to trade it in for a Z06, and they're offering me something, and I'm $40,000 upside down in my car. You signed the paperwork. Yeah. You wanted that. You were an adult. You said, should I take this calculated risk? Should I overpay? Yes. And now, all of a sudden, I think that's why my channel is doing so well, is everybody's, sitting there with their pitchfork and torch like, the auto industry sucks. Let's burn these bastards down. And at the end of the day, I tell everybody, the automotive industry is consumer driven. At the end of the day, the customers, if you stop buying, we drop the prices. But if you're still buying, prices stay high. Mm-hmm. So for every one educated consumer, there's probably about 2 dummies that are out there that are just desperate trying to buy the car they can't afford.
That sounds like life.
Yeah.
Dude, what was that scandal? This was probably 2 years ago now, but CNC Motors out in California.
Oh God. Yeah. So the big thing with a lot of these exotic car companies, they don't make any money. Like, everybody asks me, why do I sell like crappy cars and why do I fix up like cheaper ones? You make more money. So, for a company like CNC, you buy, let's say, a Lamborghini Huracan. You pay $200,000 at the auction. 9 times out of 10, most dealers don't have any money. They have lines of credit, flooring lines. So they buy this on their flooring line. So now it's like buying a Lamborghini on your credit card. You're getting hit with 15 to 20% interest. And you have to make what's called monthly payments or monthly curtailments every single month. So you have your interest and fees, but then you have to do what's called a 5, 10, or 15% principal pay down. So if you were to do 10% of $200,000, That's what is that? Is that $2,000
Yeah.
Yeah. So you pay $2,000 plus the fees. Let's say it's
10% of $200,000 is $20K.
Oh, $20K. Excuse me. Yeah. So there you go. Great math. So
You're one of those two dummies.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, so now they have $20,000 payment plus the fees, and they're still holding on the car. But then let's say they finally find a buyer for it and they sell it and make $25,000. By the time they get that money back, pay their flooring, there's really not a whole lot there. You make more money with cheaper cars. Well, anyways, these guys figured it out that there's no money in it. So they always do what's called consignment. They want to show that they have the most exotic cars. For some reason, everybody that owns an exotic car dealership has like the biggest ego. They want to show that they're rich and they have money, but they're all broke. They all have other people's cars on their floors. And what happens is if you give me your Tesla Model Plaid and you say, Lucky, I'm going to consign this car to you, and you sign a consignment agreement, and let's say you still owe money on it to a bank. As a dealer, if I sell that car to another person and they get a loan for it and they take off with the car, I don't have to pay you. You're supposed to legally, but he doesn't have to pay you. He can basically just walk away. That's exactly what CNC did. They were selling cars. Now I'll explain here in a minute. They were selling cars without paying the people. Now, people are wondering, well, they'll never get the title or it must be illegal. Yes, it's illegal. You could sue the dealer, but you cannot get back your car because every consumer that buys from a dealer is protected. So even if you try to go after that car, like what people were doing with CNC, since they bought it through a licensed dealer, there's nothing they can do. The banks can't repo the car. Whatever bank that has the current loan, or if the customer paid cash, they are protected by law in most states. And that's what's made people so pissed off is like, well, I have the title. I'll just repo my car. And people were going after cars and getting arrested because they're not the legal owner. This new owner, unfortunately, is the new owner. And this is the dilemma that CNC had is they burned a lot of people. They took a lot of cars in consignment trying to float that lifestyle. And when they sold them all out and they ran out of money, they couldn't pay people. They just up and dipped out. So now I've been consulted on it a few times. There's, I think, about 40 people that lost their exotic cars and got nothing out of it. Some of them even have loans. I know one guy had a Huracan Spider, and he has like a $300,000 loan on it, and he's still paying on it. And the bank doesn't care. He's like, well, here's the car. Can we sue somebody? Can we go after it? Nope. All you can do is go after the dealer's bond, which is $100,000. But if you lost a $300,000 car, that's not going to help you. So that's why they're trying to sue.
And the dealer's bond is what? It's just insurance?
Yeah, a dealer's bond is to protect them from stuff like this. So in a traditional dealership, if you buy a $20,000 car from me and you never get the title, you go to the DMV. Hey, man, this dealer sold me a car. He didn't give me a title. The dealership or the DMV will give you the bond number of the dealer and basically file a complaint. And they'll tell the dealership, if you don't give this customer the title, we're going to call your bond company. And then the bond company protects the consumers, the customer, the public. So the bond will say, okay, we'll give you the $20,000 you paid for your car because you didn't get the title.
Dude, that's crazy. So there's basically this thing so a car dealership takes the cars and says, hey, we'll sell it on your behalf. When we sell it, we'll pay you. But because they're so underwater, there's so many things, like the money comes in and they're like, well, I'm just going to pay off these debts first. And then like, I'll get to that one. And they probably have the well-meaning intention to, but they're so underwater they can't cover those ones.
Yeah, it's the robbing Peter to pay Paul 100%. And the reason why all these guys are getting exposed right now is demand of cars is slowing down. Value of cars is going down. So now they're always like, well, I'll just catch up next month. I'll catch up next month. Because, when you have money coming in, all businesses, we do this. When you got money coming in, money going out, it just eventually catches up. Well, if you got all that money going out and then the new money coming in just starts to go down lower and lower, now you're like, oh, God, I can't keep up with these bills. And all these guys do this. They make promises. They start doing all the sketchy stuff. And that's why across the United States, you see all these dealerships closing. And that's why I tell people, like, be patient, because what's happening now is as interest rates are rising, a lot of these dealerships, those flooring lines I told you about, the credit lines, they're on a scalable rate. So the next hike is coming here in the next month. I guarantee you a lot of these dealers can't afford it. Plus, what's happening is that, let's say dealers like this, now that they've thrown out the red flag, CNC, and they burned all these people, I can literally tell you 30 stories that happened after that one that are just like this. They're all getting wind of it. And so now the banks, the flooring lines, the lines of credit for the dealers are starting to audit dealers more. Hey, where's this car at? Where's our money? And if you don't show the money or the car, they show up with tow trucks, they block in your dealership, and they take the cars off the lot. And so now people are starting to get worried because they can't afford the cars. Dealers can't basically sell them for what they owe. And then every month they run what's called a book. If you have, let's say, $1 million flooring line and it's maxed out, and they run a book and they're like, hey, your car's only worth $700,000, so we need a check today for the balance, for the difference. And dealers have to pay it. If not, they come and they take all your cars. So every month the car business is getting worse. So that's why I keep telling people, don't buy a car. I promise you by the third quarter of 2023, you'll see, now that's getting more prominent in the headlines and news, you will see more dealers go out of business, and you will see a lot more deals. And banks are definitely tightening up as well.
So, dude, as a content creator, you've got over 15 million views on your YouTube channel. You've got you're touching 300,000 subscribers. You've got a pretty big following on other platforms too. No pun intended. What was the lucky break for you?
Unfortunately, it was the videos. One day I talked about how banks were lending out really crazy. I've been trying to get a viral video forever. I've been doing this since the pandemic, and it didn't pop till about 2021. It was about a year and a half into it when I finally had that video of me talking about the auto loan crisis and how the used car market's going to explode and all this other stuff. And I don't know what happened. I made that video. It was like a 10 out of 10. It was very low for YouTube standards. Nobody really cared. Some news company picked it up. It got all over Reddit. It was on Zero Hedge, Wall Street Bets. Like, it just shared the hell out of it. And I remember waking up, there was like 400,000 views. And then I just started getting subscribers in. Like, people were just pouring in, and that was my one lucky break. But to build my channel, I did some fun stuff. I don't know if you want to go into that.
Yeah, I think so on your end, how did you grow? Is it just make good content and hope the viewers come, or what's the strategy?
No, I tried that. I actually watched this channel, Think Media. Shout out to them if they're watching.
Sean Cannell?
Yeah, local Vegas
got his
place.
book over there.
Oh, really?
YouTube Secrets. A little plug for Sean.
Yeah, but it's like when I started, I was like, okay, I'm going to do great content. I'm going to inform people. And all you kept hearing was, target your niche, target your niche. I was like, I didn't have a niche. Like, my niche didn't exist. So I was the first idiot talking about, the automotive business. So I couldn't figure out who am I like? Am I like this guy? Am I like this guy? And I was completely different. I was doing talking head. I was explaining about like how to get lines of credit, how to do dealership business, how to get your rental car license. So I couldn't figure it out. I did about 20 videos and they weren't going anywhere. Maybe one like a few shares, nothing else, and I was kind of getting bummed. And, at my dealership, I was always doing marketing on Facebook and YouTube and stuff like that. So I figured, I might as well try that with my YouTube channel. So the first video I did was how to get your dealer's license. I put $1,000 behind YouTube ads. I was like, let me just try this and see what happens. First week, 1,000 subs. I was like, oh shit, it's working. And then I read online and all these YouTube gurus, don't ever advertise.
You're going to ruin your channel.
You're going to ruin your channel. You're going to screw up the algorithm, right? And I was like, but I can't get the algorithm. I can't catch the algorithm unless people don't know who I am. So I was like, let me try it again. So for the next, I'd say about 6 months, I was spending anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000 a month on YouTube ads. I would find channels that were similar like mine, automotive channels, and I would put my stuff as a pre-roll, or I would do discovery ads, which are on the side. When you're watching content, you pop up on the side. And so little by little, I started gaining momentum. It took me a while, but I finally got up to 5,000 subscribers. And I would, message all these guys directly. I would always comment on every comment. I barely stopped doing every comment, I think, a few months ago, because now there's, a couple hundred or thousands on there. But I paid attention to every customer. I try to figure out what's the best way to reach the most people. So after that, I was like, okay, I got 5,000 subs. Hopefully the algorithm will take me. Tried it for 3 months. I think I gained 20 subs. I was so pissed off. And so I started to get on advertising on YouTube, pushing the videos out. And once I got to 10 grand, I took a break again and just see if the algorithm would catch me. And that's when it caught me when I did that car video about the automotive bubble.
So would you say someone who's trying to grow on YouTube in 2023, one of the things they could incorporate into their strategy is paid ads?
I would definitely say so. I know a lot of people look at it in the wrong way, but at the end of the day, it's just like any other business. How do people find out about your product? advertising. If you come up with the world's greatest toothbrush, nobody's going to know it unless you put it all over Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and other social medias. So for me, when I was selling cars, it's the same thing. How do they find me? They got to find on YouTube. So I decided, let me just go ahead and market, do this, kind of build my brand, because at the end of the day, you and I both know your personal brand is worth more than anything. If you do it right and you spend a little bit of money, it will definitely pay dividends in the long run. Now, don't get me wrong. We have friends, in our group that just got lucky, hit the viral thing and, got millions of subscribers. But there's other people that we know as well that have spent tons of money on marketing, advertising, building their brand this non-traditional way, and it's worked very, very well for them. So I know everybody has their way of doing it. I would say try it both ways because, when I was doing the advertising, people thought I was nuts, but it worked. It got me to where I was at, where I've seen people, like Spencer, one of our friends, he posted for, I think, 4 or 5 years before he finally had a few videos pop. So, I'm not saying there's a right or wrong way, but at the end of the day, I would try it. How are they going to know you unless they see your content?
One of the things people say about YouTube though is like creating long form content is hard, and one of the reasons why a lot of people drop off is because for whatever reason they stop because it is hard. You got to make a 10-minute video, you got to edit it. This is a whole thing. You do 2 videos a week for most weeks, and what's your content workflow look like to be able to create that much content?
Oh God, I am the worst one to ask because I have to admit I am one of those lazy people. I don't script. I got the gift of gab, so I just kind of flip on the camera and just think of a topic, and then I start talking. So for some reason it works. Thank God. We have our friends that like plan everything out verbatim. Every word choice, every phrase, every picture for B-roll. I mean, it's all calculated down, and they know their video is going to be 17 minutes and 33 seconds. And then you have my dumb ass that literally just flips on the camera and just like, what am I going to talk about today? Oh, yeah, let's talk about financing. Let's go into financing. And I just go into it. And so mine is really bad. I'm working with you to hopefully make it better. We're going to start doing batch things. But I just think of an idea. I turn on the camera. And then from filming, editing, and uploading takes me within an hour. So wow. I'm kind of the weird one, but I'll tell you what, like, I know Andre, it takes him 3 days sometimes to make a video, script it, and edit. I don't want to be that bad, but I know that like you're helping me with the, trying to get like you said, a system on it where I'm doing batch shooting one day, shoot 4 or 5 videos. I saw Ryan do it, which is really cool. Ryan Pineda, shout out if he's watching. His system was awesome. He would wake up at 8 a.m., get to the office, and just like from 8 a.m. to like 4 p.m. is nothing but videos. And then Tuesday, the next day is like 6 podcasts. And then the rest of the week, they're just editing all of his content. So I know that I've been pretty fortunate with the car market, like kind of crumbling. So I think that's keeping me trending. But one thing I want to tell people, just like in business, you never want to be stagnant. You always constantly want to be moving forward, looking for the next opportunity, and constantly pivoting. So even though I'm still trending upwards, I'm already thinking of like trying to make my channel better with the things we've discussed earlier, with doing the classes, thumbnail guys. I think we use the same thumbnail guy. Helping you guys, or you guys helping me with like learning more about editing and stuff like that. I think that's more important than anything. Is even once you start getting a little bit of success, keep like trying to get better and constantly move towards something better.
Yeah, dude, that's one thing I've admired about you, even from like day one. Like we met, and you're like, "Yeah, dude, I just cashed out. I sold like 10 cars. Like I got extra cash to invest. Like, dude, where can I spend it?" And you're just like, dude, you're just finding opportunities to invest back into yourself. And I think that's one thing is a lot of people, they get stingy. It's like for me, when I was getting started, like when I had extra cash, it was going back into my brand. Let me do some marketing. Let me create content. Like that's a reason that this exists right now. Yeah. And so, yeah, I definitely admire that as your strategy.
No, I appreciate it. Yeah. Like I tell a lot of my friends, I used to do music a long, long time ago. And I remember meeting, people that were semi-famous, people that were famous. And I remember when the spotlight was on them and they're making tons of money, they were turning down, hey, you want to go do this gig this weekend? It's $50,000. Nah, I'm too busy for that. Oh, these guys are willing to pay $100,000 if you fly to this country and do a gig. Nah, I'm too busy for that. And then fast forward, 2-3 years later, when their fame is gone, the spotlight's no longer on them. These guys are playing in bars and clubs for $2,000, And so they never invested that money in themselves. They never, like, some of these guys, hey, do you want to buy a camera so we could film this stuff so we could put it online? Nah, that's good. Do you want to get a marketing brand? We can sell T-shirts, merch. Nah, they never reinvested. And so I'm glad that I saw that when I was younger, because I've seen the power of a brand. Whether you're a musician, whether you do art, you do podcasts, like now, especially, I think, if anything, the pandemic taught us anything, was the fact that just having a social media brand can make you rich. There's this thing in the music industry. It's called 1,000 true fans. All you need is 1,000 true fans to buy $100 worth of your stuff every year, annually, and you make $100,000 for life. So just think about that. Some of our friends, that have 4, 5, 6 million subscribers, even if they have 100,000 true fans that would buy $100 worth of whatever products they sell every year, I mean, that's tons of money.
Yeah.
You can be set for life. So to me, it's like, that is the true value. Your brand, investing back in yourself and just building it. Like, I know right now I should probably put more money into myself, but I'm slowly getting there, and I'm hoping that, one day I'll be able to be as big as your company.
Thanks, bro. I appreciate it. So dude, you're Lucky Lopez. Like, dude, you live in Vegas. I've seen your YouTube thing has 777 in it. Like, do you gamble?
I do a little bit. I'll play poker in some tournaments. I'll take a few bucks and go to the table. But, same thing I learned as a kid. Vegas is built off of losers. When we used to walk through the casinos as a kid, I used to see people gambling. And I remember, I think I was like 5 or 6. And every Sunday, Vegas, like, people don't realize, like, casinos are a big part of our life. So Sundays, my family would, like, if we'd go to church, after church, we would go to, like, a casino to eat, like, at the buffet, because it was cheap. It was like $2, $3 back then. And then after that, we would go to bowling, movies, whatever. Well, I remember walking into a place, and my dad pointed at this lady. He's like, you see that little old lady over there with the oxygen tank chain smoking? Yeah. He's like, watch. She'll be here when we leave. I'm like, it's going to be hours before we leave. Sure enough, we lunch at the buffet. She's still there. We go play bowling. We leave. She's still there. Then we go into the movie theater, watch a movie for 2-3 hours, come back out. Little old lady's still there, gambling away all of her, probably her dead husband's Social Security, just chain smoking. So gambling, I try to stay away from. But when it comes to football, though, I do bet. I'll like Super Bowl. Not much on basketball, but I would say, poker tournaments is probably the most I'd spend on gambling.
Cool, man. So I got one last question for you before I ask it. How can people connect with you or find you online?
Well, my Instagram is Lucky Lopez. Pretty simple. YouTube, exact same thing. You can find me on there. My website, thanks to you, automotivelife.com. If you guys want to do a consulting call or if you want to reach out for any type of automotive training, I specialize in teaching people about dealerships, financing, rental car companies, automotive repair, body shops, pretty much everything in the automotive industry that you want to get into. The only thing I don't do is I don't consult on, like, buying cars. It's too much of a headache. I won't buy cars for people. So that's probably the number one thing I get on Instagram. Will you buy me a car? No. Can you give me financing? Nope. I just teach you about it, and that's about it.
Okay, cool, dude. I like that. There is, dude, sometimes thing is, like, if people are asking for it, doesn't it make sense to try to create a way to do it? Because
the problem is everybody wants a car for cheap. But then when you give them that cheap car, if there's anything wrong with it, I'll get stuck with it. So there's auto brokers, and their job is to, like, you could say, hey, I want a Tesla Plaid. I don't care, blue, green, orange, just get it to me. So I find one. It's a green one with tan interior. I bring it to you, and you're like, oh, I didn't really like the tan interior. I want white. Well, you're going to buy it because I got it for a good deal, right? No, I don't want to buy it. I want a white interior. So now I'm stuck with a $90,000, Tesla that I got to get rid of. And people don't want to pay the down payments. And even that too, I've done a few brokers where I found a car for a customer, saved him $10,000. I wanted to charge him $1,500 for my fee, and they were upset. You're going to charge me $1,500 to do the car deal? I'm like, yeah, it's my time, it's my overhead, my business, my fees. Oh, that's a ripoff. I'm like, this is what I do for a living. Like, you go open up a dealership and go get all this overhead and all these people and go use your own money to buy this, $80,000 car and then come back to me. I was like, so I just didn't want to deal with it. Now, soon I will have a dealership here in Vegas. I don't know if we're going to do mostly wholesaling We will do some retail sales, but I think mostly it's going to be for the YouTube content because I think it would be pretty hilarious just to have a dealership here in Vegas and just all the characters coming in. I mean, it's a shit show. I can't wait to once it's done. I want you to come down and look at it because you're going to die laughing. It's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, we'll do maybe a video on my main channel on that. So, dude, you asked what this weird looking Bible is over here. So the last guest I had actually left a question for you. I don't know what the question is. You're going to read the question, and then you'll leave one for the next guest. So
sounds good.
They didn't know who you were, but there you go. The bottom one right there.
The bottom one right here. If you can go back to work, what is that? If you can go back to, I think that's work. If you can go back to the worst moment of your life, would you tell yourself? I might be reading that wrong. I'm sorry.
Let me see.
You know, if you can go back to work, we can edit this one out.
No, but just keep it in.
Oh, God.
Lucky can't read, by the way.
No. If you see this chicken scratch, you let me know. Whoever this guy, Michael
Unbroken.
Yeah, it's a little rough. So, if you could go back to the worst moment of your life, what would you tell yourself? I've had some pretty horrific things happen in my life, and I think that if I would go back and tell myself anything, you're going to laugh. I would tell myself to quit the car business sooner and start YouTube. Because, when I love the car business, it's a fun thing, but it literally consumed my whole being. Like, as you know, like I'm not married, I got no kids. I worked every single day. I was stressed out of my mind. I had ulcers. I had to have surgery. I was a complete wreck. But for some reason, it's like a toxic ex-girlfriend. I love the car business. But when I started doing YouTube, I got to meet cool people like you. We share information. Our little group here in Vegas, like everybody that I've met during YouTube has been amazing, and my life's been better. I've met some really great people. I won't talk about it, but like I've actually met somebody that I'm dating, which is rare, and she hasn't ran away because I'm.
What's his name?
Good one.
That's why you don't want to talk about it.
Exactly. But no, the cool thing is like most of my girlfriends would get pissed because I work so much. They would just want to break up with me. And so now I'm at the point where it's like it's comfortable. So if I could tell myself anything, would be just to let it go. Even though like you are making money in business, and I'll share this with your viewers. You can be successful. That's great. We were making a lot of money, but at the end of the day, I wasn't happy. And the stress it was causing me wasn't worth the money. So I technically make less than I do now. But with YouTube, like we're hanging out here in the middle of the day talking and just hanging out. I mean, I never in a million years would dream that YouTube would be able to give me this type of lifestyle. And like I said, here we are.
Dude, thanks for coming on.
Thank you.